sport. And when she was 12 years old, we played a team with two transgender females on it. One was a goalie and one was a defender. And as you may or may not know, in lacrosse, the girls wear little skirts that look kind of like
I
tennis
guess I
skirts.
didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. And these two transgender females were not wearing the proper uniform for starters. They were wearing shorts, boys sports shorts. And well, the goalie's not required to wear the skirt, but the defender certainly was. And the girls played an amazing game. They played their hearts out, and we lost.
And I don't know if you said how old were the girls?
12.
Okay.
Which, as you know, at that point in time, there can be physical differences between boys and girls.
Certainly.
Boys, yeah.
Not quite as dramatic yet as some, but in a physical sport like that, most definitely, right?
Yes, these boys were definitely bigger, taller.
So is it really evident to the girls that these were boys who are now playing on the other team?
Complete with hairy legs, yes.
So how did they feel after the game?
They were all crying in the parking lot.
Oh my God.
Every single one of them.
So why isn't this heard in the media? We're so lucky to have this platform now. I wish we could have more of these stories in the media. We're always told this isn't an issue. And here you're saying we have a whole team of girls crying about this.
Yeah, and they weren't crying because they lost. These are athletes. They understand and they learn the importance of knowing how to lose. They were crying because they felt helpless, because they felt like there was nothing they could do to prevent this from happening in the future. And these are good girls. Yeah. These are girls that have been playing since third grade, since they were 7, who have worked their tails off, working on their skills. I have equipment in my basement where my daughter practices her stick skills every single day. And they knew at that moment that no matter how much training they did, they couldn't win against those odds.
It's a truth we all know. And it's so crazy that all of a sudden this like ideology is just coming in and erasing everything that we have fought for.
Yes. And it was, as a mom, I mean, I wanted to cry with the girls too. I too felt helpless until I found you and Save Women's Sports. And I'm going to do whatever I can to protect my daughter and her future in sports, because I feel like sports is that important to girls.
As a mom, I know that feeling. I mean, you got to stay strong for the kids. You close the door, you have a few tears, and you march on. And I'm so grateful for people like you that just put on the boots and hit the ground marching. That's what it's going to take.
There's been some consequences for me for that, though.
That was one of the things I'd like to talk to you about.
I ordered some stickers from you, and I put them on my car, and promptly my back window was shot out by a pellet gun.
That is absurd. That we live in a day and age that this sort of thing can happen, that we can be seen as the bad enemy. Guy.
Yeah, the enemy.
I mean, you have to laugh, or else it's just, what kind of society are we living in that you can't speak the truth?
Well, and I promptly replaced my windshield and put new stickers back on, because I will not be intimidated. I will not allow my daughter to be intimidated. And
that's awesome.
It's important to raise confident young women. And when she's approached for my activism, I suppose, she responds with facts and science, and your feelings are not more important than my opportunities and my hard work to succeed in my sport.
That's incredible. It's amazing to hear, and it gives me a lot of hope to know that there are a lot of young women that are speaking up. It's just they aren't so much given a platform.
Well, and Selena Soul has led the way. I think she is the most daring and brave young lady. Those 3 ladies in Connecticut,
Yeah,
I
there's 4 of them now, actually. Another young lady, Ashley, has joined in publicly. So
good
we
for her.
have Selena, Alana, Chelsea, and Ashley over there. For those who don't know, are involved in a lawsuit in Connecticut against the school system because they allowed males to compete in the track system, and they lost 15 state championships and over 80 opportunities to just 2 males competing in their divisions in track. But yes,
It's
they are the brave and courageous women that we need to be celebrating here, and we're very grateful that they're leading the way and haven't backed down.
absolutely. They're an inspiration to girls everywhere. And what I've recently experienced with an interview I just recently did for a local news channel, my phone blew up from dads texting me saying, "Wow, we are here for you. We have daughters
Oh,
in
that's
sports.
so
What can
great.
we do to help?"
That's so great to hear. Because it is going to take everyone's support, not just female voices, although I feel we need to elevate those. We need the support of everyone here. And I think we all know it's a common sense issue. And it's just going to take some support for all of us to be able to speak up and say, hey, that's a woman. The emperor has no clothes on, right?
Right? But I think if we can add dads and brothers and uncles and grandpas and um, male voices to that to help us, I
Yes,
think would
most
be
definitely.
huge. And I do also have seen lately women that support us and what we're doing, and they are starting to speak up because of people like you and
People like
Selena,
you.
who are leading the charge, who are being brave and speaking up and taking action.
Yeah, courage
And
calls to courage, most definitely.
yes, absolutely. And I think that the word is spreading. And I'm so happy about that because I want my daughter to have every opportunity in the sports that she plays. Um, because she does, she works so hard. She shouldn't be denied an opportunity to play in college if she wants to, or make the varsity because she has to compete with a male body.
And not only competing, but let's face it, it's a male body in the locker room, in the bathroom, in the shower. Do we want that for our girls? And I think those dads hopefully can help step up and attest to that. And thankfully, we do have some awesome dads like Dr. Christopher Hunt in USA Powerlifting, who is a girl dad. And they've done some amazing work at doing things like creating a mixed category for any athlete. So we have male, female, and mixed powerlifting now. Makes sense to me, but those who identify as transgender say that that would be othering them, not being able to compete is how they identify. So it's quite
Well,
interesting. It's absurd we even need to be in this, having this conversation.
absolutely. And your I, identification um, isn't based in science when it comes to competing in sports. It
Right.
isn't
It's not
based
the
in common
place for some
sense.
psychosocial experiment of an ideology trying to scream a mantra at us until it makes an untruth, a truth. We don't have to comply with this lie. You cannot make a woman out of a man. A woman isn't some kind of hormone level that a man can suddenly reach and achieve womanhood status, right?
Well, and I take personal offense to them claiming womanhood through how they dress,
Absolutely.
how the makeup they wear. I've earned the title of woman, and I will not let you dilute that title by identifying as a woman because you don't know. You will
Right there.
never know what we
Their
go through.
archaic sex stereotypes is what they are using to present themselves as the opposite sex. Like, it's not my curled hair and the little bit of makeup that I put on today that made me the woman that I am today. It's my XX chromosomes.
Absolutely. 100%.
It's
I agree.
and
And
it's so crazy that they can think that just the Olympics even, come on, thinks that they can just, oh, lower your testosterone and magically you're at the equal level of a woman. Like,
No, and they'll never understand, they'll never know how hard it is to train for a sport and compete
yes, let's take it
when
there.
you're PMSing, when you are menstruating, um, all those hormones and everything that goes into that. I mean, that is a distinct physical disadvantage between
Sometimes women
women and
have to
men.
miss weeks of training. It can be a week, a month even that you could be missing training. Or if you are going to training, you are pushing your body so hard and they will never know what that is like, let
No,
alone pregnancy, you know, postpartum, menopausal. Like, we have powerlifting women into their 70s and they're not allowed to take hormones to balance out menopause to help them feel better. But yet these trans athletes can take their hormones and they're allowed in some, it's just crazy.
well, and the notion I've read recently that they say that, well, let's just let women take enough testosterone to raise their testosterone
Yeah. Oh
levels
my
to the
goodness.
IOC
What
level.
kind of world are we
Oh,
in?
what kind of madness is that? You're setting these athletes up for infertility, bone loss, um, all kinds of health issues down the road. There's no woman in her right mind. If they did do that at the current rules, they'd be banned for life.
Right, right. And even without performance enhancing drugs, when women push their bodies to these high limits, like in endurance and in track, you're risking losing bone density, early menopause, all sorts of, osteoporosis, losing your fertility, like you had mentioned, you lose your cycle. It's just hair loss, all sorts of things that are strictly due to that feminine hormone cycle that you cannot mimic.
Right. Yep. You, the
And often
distinct,
we get so tied up in this science aspect of it. Like, we have to see the latest studies. We have women here saying no, right? Listen to these girls crying saying this isn't right.
and the it's not just physical attributes that make a woman. There are so many other things
Exactly.
that contribute to that title, such as um, walking through a dark parking lot at night and being afraid. Um, being in a neighborhood you don't know and a group of
Exactly.
men walking down the street and you being afraid because you know that you are physically
It's not
disadvantaged.
the same physical threat, and they won't understand that. And many women, including myself, have been victims of abuse. And until you've been there, I don't think you understand how it is to constantly look around the corner, carry your keys in your fist. Um, yeah, that is womanhood. That is real.
Yeah. My daughter recently told me she saw a TikTok, of course. um, a poll was taken of women that said 90% have been a victim of some type of sexual harassment, a sexual assault, some sex-based offense.
And
90%.
that's just those that we know about. That's those that have admitted to it.
Hmm.
I've heard studies is as much as half of women have been actually sexually assaulted. It's it's reality, and what we are doing with conflating self-identity or gender ideology, gender identity, whatever you want to call it, with sex, we're opening up every single female space then to males because we erase the definition of what a woman is, and that allows males into our spaces, and then we are conditioning young women to think it's okay to have penises in their spaces.
I agree
And we do not
100%.
know which one could be that threat.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that all transgender people are a threat.
Exactly,
By no
exactly.
means, by no means. I I know a few. I've met a few, and they're genuinely great people. And that's not the issue. It's the ones
There
that will
will be
take
people that
advantage.
aren't even transgender that will just take advantage of this situation to
It,
abuse people. And this is just a floodgate of abusing women, basically, when we come down to it, taking our titles, taking all of our spaces.
well, and how has the transgender population at the beginning of all of this gone from 0.03% of the population to what did I see recently? 20%. Was it
There are some very
Canada's
high
prisons?
statistics floating around.
Yeah. All of a sudden, there's a huge spike or jump in transgender um, um, identification. Really? I don't believe that.
It's a whole nother thing to get into, this rapid onset gender dysphoria with our young women. Now we're seeing autogynephilic males like in prisons, invading women's prisons and abusing women there. Women are losing our safe spaces. And I don't like to get too far into the weeds, but sports is somewhat the spearhead of a major issue that we are seeing here. And I'm
I
so
totally
grateful
agree.
for women like you that are brave enough to speak up, because once you do speak up, you see that, like, oh, call me names. What's the big deal? You know the truth. You know you're speaking the truth, and you can't let the name stop you because it is just bullies like it was in school. They're just basically trying to shut you up because they're insecure with what they are.
Well, they did manage to shut me up. I had to leave Twitter. I was called the most vile, horrible, disgusting names you can imagine, female names, and I was threatened. My daughter was threatened through me. I had to leave. They won. I admit it, but I'm back, and I decided that I'm not gonna let
It's a good
that happen
reminder,
again.
though. I love your honesty because it's good to just take a break. Sometimes you need to know when enough is enough and step away. And now you know that it's they're not going to come and get you.
Yeah, but
I you know, it,
I did step away, and I was able to collect my thoughts, and I was able to collect my data, my science, and my arguments. And I did come back, and I found that the female community, and not just feminists, but females, women, are coming together, and we are saying enough is enough. You are not,
absolutely.
we outnumber you, and you are not going to silence us. That's
We are growing
nope.
stronger, and you can see it nationwide on all social media platforms. Try to cancel us, Reddit. Try to cancel us, Twitter. We're just going to keep screaming louder. You can't shut us up. We will not back down. And especially with sports, we will not compromise. There is no reason at all to let males compete in female sports. Males and females should only compete together on a co ed team where both people are aware.
Absolutely. And if a woman or girl wants to choose to take on that additional risk of physical injury, then that's her choice.
I believe they
But
should be entitled to as well.
as far as my daughter's concerned, she doesn't want to take that additional risk. There's already enough risk in
Right.
playing contact sports
So we shouldn't be
that,
destroying female sports for the sake of these few that do want to play with them. Go on your own mixed category, right?
well, and my daughter's argument too is if there's a sport for your sex, then go play it. So my daughter plays lacrosse. There's boys lacrosse. You can play that. The opportunity is there.
Right. Well, that's what Title IX says. You know, it gave us equality. If there isn't sports for girls, girls can play on the boys' team. But it did
Right.
not say that if there is a girls and boys team, boys can cross over and play on the girls' team.
And my mom was one of those women that fought for Title IX.
That's awesome.
And I'm discovering that more and more of that generation is saying, No, we've
Yeah,
fought long and hard for this, and you are not going to take it back.
Yeah, less than 50 years. I mean, this summer we're going to celebrate the anniversary. It'll be so fun.
Oh, that'll be great.
Well, no, 70, 72,
72
72 next summer. Yeah.
next summer. Yes.
Crazy. And to think that we're now handing those rights over on a silver platter to males and telling them they're brave and courageous and applauding them along the way. It is just, I can't think of any other word but absurd. You know, 2 plus 2 does not equal 5. A male minus testosterone does not equal a female.
This is absolutely true.
And how is that
100%.
controversial? How is that controversial?
Because their feelings matter, because we have to respect their feelings.
This is about facts, not feelings at this point in time. And you're
I
right.
agree.
It's gender identity, self-ID. There's no real definable terms of feelings. So there's no control. How do you define that? We're going to have athletes jump in teams, and before you know it, let's face it, there will be whole female teams of males if we keep at this rate, because they will know they can win.
So why would a girl even,
And
or
why
a
would
young woman, why would they
we
even
already
bother
have
playing?
young women like your daughter saying, well, what's the point of going to the next game against that team again?
Exactly. And my daughter has discussed this with her teammates, and they are prepared to sit out. They are prepared to
Isn't
forfeit.
that amazing? It's so sad that it has come to this point. They should not have to forfeit a game, but it's an incredible thing that now these generations of strong women are now shining through in these youngsters and giving us hope and refilling our cups so that we can carry on too. It's awesome.
I absolutely agree. I'm really proud of my daughter and her teammates and how they discuss openly these issues and how it could affect them, because I really think a problem with this generation and the trans rights activists is, and especially the Equality Act, is they can't see the forest for the trees. They say, oh yeah, everybody should be equal, but they're not looking forward and saying, oh, wait a minute, this could have some negative consequences
are. Exactly. Everybody wants to be nice, but we have to be real too.
Yeah, you really have to. They're not thinking it through. Like, let's think. Okay, sure, this sounds like a good idea and premise, but what happens if this happens and this happens, and what happens if my daughter loses a job or a promotion to a transgender female? So who's being discriminated against then?
Yeah, it's a crazy world that we're living in. And let's just throw it right out there, like a transgender female is a made up thing. This is a male. There it's we need clarity in the language, but yet how do we make people understand unless we use that T word what we're talking about? But it's just we're so shouted that we're supposed to accept these male bodies as female, and there's just no way we cannot comply with this lie.
Well, and nobody wants to deny anybody the opportunity to play sports. I think everybody agrees that playing sports builds so many characteristics for life.
Yeah, 95% of CEOs and government officials have played sports.
And for women and girls, I think it's even more important.
Building blocks for a lifetime. It is setting up building blocks on how to just live in society and be a strong woman. And it teaches us to be assertive and stand our ground. And it's really sad how these bills that we're helping pass are painted as trans bans, because we're not banning an athlete from playing sports. We're just simply saying that they should play sports fairly. And if they truly understood what it was like to feel like a woman, they would put ourselves in our shoes and see that we're saying no to them and accept that.
Well, and that is where the empathy comes in, meaning you can put yourself in somebody else's shoes and anticipate what they're feelings are, but there's no empathy anymore.
No, we're dealing at somebody screaming at you, listen to my feelings, and they are totally ignoring everyone else's.
Correct. Absolutely. And I think that, um,
and demanding that their feelings be accepted as science along the way, mind you.
right, right. Of course. Well, and I was a very mediocre athlete in high school. But it taught me teamwork. It taught me dedication. It taught me respect for coaches and referees. It taught me how to lose. It taught me how to win. And I took those lessons and was able to apply them to the rest of my life. And it doesn't just mean sports. Every group activity for young people is important, whether you're in band or orchestra or speech and debate or other clubs. Those things teach you valuable lessons for your life, for lifelong. And sports is one of those categories that is very, very important for these kids to be able to pursue, if they should pursue them, which I highly encourage everybody to. Whether you're a good athlete or not, you can still play rec, you can still and learn how to have fun and celebrate, and those lifelong relationships that you garner in those clubs and groups and competitions and sports are important for the rest of your life. And nobody wants to deny anybody any of that. We just want a fair playing field defined by your biological sex.
Exactly. Well, I think that's a good stop period right there. It was a pleasure to have you on today, and I wish you the best of luck marching forward. And I'm so grateful for your daughter. Let us know if you need any support. And if anybody out there needs support, please don't hesitate to email us info@savewomensports.com. Also at savewomensports.com, you can find all the science you need to back up your arguments to those evil trolls on Twitter. Don't let the man get you down. Stand your ground. Save Women Sports signing out.
Thank you, Beth.